Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth. And if you are a collector of Natasha Denona palettes like myself, you have come to the right place. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about this new mini Gloom palette. So I'll be doing some swatches and a demo, of course. But I also wanted to take the opportunity to talk about what I think may be on the horizon. So kind of reading the Natasha Denona tea leaves, if you will. So I will have timestamps down below if you'd like to jump ahead to a particular portion. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the swatches. So of course, this is one of her little mini 5-pan palettes. So these retail for $27 now. I think it's exclusive to Ulta, other than the Natasha Denona website, so you can use your points. Or if you'd like to shop from Natasha Denona directly, I do have, I think, a discount code that will get you a little bit of money off there. But as I said, this is one of her little mini 5 pans. These pans are not removable the way that her midi palettes are. So you kind of have the set color story here. So we have the shade Cinder 630 CM, which stands for Creamy Matte. So that is a matte, dark, dusty olive taupe. We have the shade Zephyr 631M, which is metallic. That is a metallic light taupe champagne. Then we have the green shade, which is called Moss. This is the shade 632 CM, and that is a matte, medium, muted olive. And then the kind of teal shade here is the shade Verdant 633M. Oh, I'm getting some of moss in there, I think. But that is the shade Verdant. It's a sparkling metallic dusty petroleum green. And yeah, you want to be a little bit careful there. I'll have to kind of scoop that out. So they will kind of fall out a little bit if you build them up like I did. And just to talk a little bit about the color story. So it's interesting. So it's called Gloom. So you do get kind of that, I don't know, spooky, grungy, kind of fall-like color story with it. I don't hate the color story. It's certainly, I'd say, kind of unique generally. It's not just another warm tone, but we have seen some other palettes that kind of have these greens and kind of pink shades. So the last one here is the shade Glint 634M. It's a metallic light medium dusty rose. So I had to kind of clean off my finger there. So that is the shade Glint. And I thought it was interesting. We do have, looks like 2 mattes and 3 metallics. They all have the M, and those letters indicate the formulation. Previously, we have had a different kind of letter combination for sparkling metallic, and that kind of more turquoisey shade is described as a sparkling metallic. So I'm not quite sure why they're labeled that way. I'll get a little bit more into kind of numbering and all that later on when I talk about my predictions. But yeah, it's interesting. I kind of collect all Natasha Denona palettes, so I didn't really kind of have to think too hard about whether I was going to pick it up. But I think when you swatch them, and maybe in the pan as well, like they're not quite as vibrant or colorful as maybe you first think, just based on pictures online. And if you were curious, what stood out to me the most was the mini retro as being a comparison. So that is the difference there. And the background of the palette, the actual plastic color, will affect how you view the colors a little bit. So with the midi palettes, I do like to take the pans out of the packaging and photograph them on a neutral background. As I said, you can't do that with these guys, at least not without destroying the packaging. So I'll just do some quick kind of comparisons in the palette. So that is the mini Zendo. If you want any like swatch comparisons, I can put those up on either my Instagram or my YouTube like community posts. So let me know if you have any kind of direct comparisons. This is the mini Metropolis, the one in the teal packaging. And then the other one I pulled, like I said, there are some other palettes that have had some similar shades. This is the mini gold. So I have all of the currently available Natasha Denona minis, and I do have most of the older ones. So if you'd like to see any comparisons, let me know. This is the mini star. I think this is another one that people brought up. So, and then I also did want to just show you the Lisa Eldridge Desert Gleam. I haven't featured this yet on my channel, but it's kind of similar. Kind of some similar inspiration, I think, but that green in the Lisa Eldridge is going to be, I think, a lot deeper than the Natasha Denona. So with those comparisons out of the way, let's go ahead and put this on my eyeballs. So I did already prime and set my eyelids just with some setting powder. So I'm going to take my Sonia G Classic Crease and this middle kind of green shade called Moss, and I'm going to kind of work that into the crease like so. We'll see how colorful I guess this ends up. I don't know why it's having trouble focusing. Maybe I'm a little bit too close. All right, so I'm just gonna do the same eye look on both sides because I want to film a video after this, so I want my eyes to match. And yeah, you can see that primer is creasing a little bit. Often I will take like a cream shadow to go over as the first step, but I want to kind of keep this as true to the actual palette as possible. And then with the same color, I'm going to take my flat definer and run it underneath my eyes. This helps kind of marry the top and bottom, and also helps make sure that my concealer won't crease. So I really like this brush for kind of getting underneath my lashes. All right, and then I'm going to take my mini booster from Sonia G and go into that dark brown called Cinder. So these are all new shades. Sometimes with these palettes you get pre-existing shades or shades that were previously discontinued, but these are all new. And these aren't super clean brushes, so any little sparkles or whatever you see so far are probably from something that was previously on the brush. I did wipe them on my Sigma switch, but still. And then just to kind of help the blend and bring back a little bit of that green, I'm going to go in with the Classic Crease again and go around and blend. And I think I could still stand to help the shade out a little bit more. So I'll tell you already that just adding a touch more brown to kind of even it out. You know, I picked this palette up because I am a collector, but I'm not sure how much use I will really get out of it. If I need any more help blending, I can take my face powder. This is the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush, or just a cream shadow. So just kind of go right under the brow bone. Okay, so now that that is on, I think I might just skip that kind of more turquoise shade. I just don't know that I really want to incorporate that one. Let's take a clean 28 brush from Rougher, and I'm gonna go into that Zephyr shade and just pick that up like so, and just kind of place that kind of all over. It's a really pretty shade. It has almost like a silvery quality to it. I might tap some of this pink just to see what that does. I guess I could have gone in the reverse order and done pink with silver on top. Just to give it a little bit of something. And I think maybe I'll add a little bit more brown just in the outer corner just to give it a touch more depth. And then again, just blend with my face powder and just a little bit around the edges. So I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. It's a pretty look. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to get the most use out of this palette compared to some of the other kind of more neutral ones, but it is fun to have some of these colors, especially going into fall. If you want something a little bit more colorful, you could also take that dark brown shadow to kind of create a wing if you want, or just line your lids. I think I actually grabbed the wrong one. This is Cinder Smoke from Lisa Eldridge. I think I meant to grab Ground Coffee, but... So I'll go over a little bit with the brown shadow like I mentioned, just to warm it up a tad. So just taking my little BK208. Okay, so do I think you should buy this palette? Not necessarily. Like I said, if you just want kind of a fun little palette to pick up and play with, something a little bit different, then sure. If you have a pretty extensive eyeshadow collection or Natasha Denona collection, you might be able to get a pretty similar look. I didn't even pull out any of the MIDI palettes, so you might be able to pull shades out from those palettes and, like I said, get a pretty similar look. I wouldn't say it's a palette that's extremely easy to use, at least on my skin tone. So it's probably not going to be an everyday kind of running out the door type palette. And to be honest, I tend to prefer larger palettes anyway, especially the midi size. So you have a nice mirror in those, and I think those are still under 70. So if you want to pick up one in a sale, like I said, I have the code, but Black Friday will be here before you know it. I think you also tend to get more like special shades, I'll call them, like the sparkling foiled or sparkling wet effect. You tend to get some of those in the MIDI palettes more so. But let's talk about what I think may be coming in case anything sounds more appealing to you that may be coming down the pike if you want to save your dollars. So as I said, coming back to the numbering of her shades, so I have actually compiled a spreadsheet of all Natasha Denona palettes, I think since she first launched her brand, like, I don't know, over 10 years ago. So she numbers them sequentially, and what I found especially interesting looking at these shade numbers is that there is a pretty sizable gap, and I'll get into why I think that is. But looking at the Bloom palette, which I think was the last palette that she released. So the last shade in that palette was 596 DC, which was the shade Equinox. And so we skipped over 597 through 629. So sometimes you see like a missing number here or there. Just, I don't know, there's a shade that maybe didn't make the cut. But if you count the number of shades there, missing shades, there's 33, which I found to be quite interesting.
I was especially interested in the section on Airway's video unit. The one that recorded the static? The fact that it recorded static isn't what interests me. What interests me is that it recorded approximately 18 hours of it.
That is interesting, isn't it?
So, as we know, there are 5 shades in these palettes. Her MIDI size contains 15 shades. So it could be 2 MIDI palettes, plus 3 kind of random shades that maybe were discarded. Or it could be a 28-pan palette plus a 5-pan palette. So that would be 33. And I think one of the most coveted eyeshadow palettes of Natasha Denona's that has been discontinued is the Metropolis. So that comes in at 28 shades. So it's possible maybe that we'll get a re-release of that palette, or maybe her holiday palette will be on the larger side. I don't know that that is a strong probability because we are kind of trending towards smaller palettes and fewer eyeshadow palettes in general, but I think it's an intriguing idea at least, and the math kind of works out. But as far as what I think we will see in terms of color story, she does trademark a lot of her palette names through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and that is a publicly available resource. So all of my kind of conjecture and musings here is just based on publicly available data. I don't have any inside information or anything like that. So you can take this with a grain of salt, but I think it's fun to kind of speculate. So I did post a lot of screenshots on my Instagram of that website. So I'll link that for you, and I encourage you to follow along if you are interested. Going back to the Gloom palette, so my Instagram post is just what she's trademarked so far in 2025. This mini Gloom palette was, the trademark application, I guess, was filed on October 1st, 2024, and it just launched mid-July 2025. So about 9.5 months is the kind of timeline there. I tried to like compare notes here to see, well, is there a standard timeline between application and launch? And there really isn't. And of course, I think the pandemic might have kind of skewed some of the data as well. Like the Xenon palette, for example, this was the MIDI kind of holiday release Xenon. That trademark was filed September 26th, 2021. And I believe that was the 2023 holiday palette. The Roxa palette from last holiday, so that was released October 18th, 2024. That trademark was filed only earlier in that year, so February 13th, 2024. So there is not really a kind of consistent timeline here. The Bloom, like I said, I think that was the last palette to release. That one released about 7 months after the trademark application. So that was filed July 16th, 2024, and it was launched February 23, 2025. And some of this you can kind of say, well, in some cases, Natasha will release the mini version of something and then release a MIDI kind of in that same color family later on. So like the mini Xenon came out, I don't know, 3.5 years or so before the MIDI, the larger size Xenon. And so she might go ahead and trademark certain things kind of just looking ahead and imagining what she might want to do in the future. Just because something is trademarked doesn't mean it will necessarily come to pass. They just want to preserve their options, I guess you could say. But what I think, again, just based on guessing here, the same day or the day after actually that she filed the trademark for the Roxa palette, February 2024, she also trademarked I Need a Rose. And the interesting thing about how she names things, so palettes like this, they're called the Mini Gloom. So if it's called Mini, you kind of know it's going to be a 5-pan. So if it's not specifically called Mini, there's a greater chance that it's going to be a MIDI larger palette. Sometimes she kind of throws you for a loop because she does actually trademark some of the palettes that go into like Ipsy boxes and that kind of thing. Like I think I uploaded, a reel or a short form video about the Rose and Wood palette at some point. And I thought that was going to be a new MIDI palette. Turns out it was just a kind of combination of existing shades that Natasha Denona assembled for Ipsy. So I don't know why she goes to the trouble of trademarking things for an Ipsy box, but in any case. But yeah, she does seem to be doing well with these I Need a palettes. We already have the I Need a Nude, I Need a Warm. So I wouldn't be surprised if the I Need a Rose is a holiday limited edition palette. It will probably be a little bit more of a specific color story, so I would not be surprised by that for holiday this year. So we'll see in about 3 months, I guess, if it comes out in October. Looking ahead, so the end of 2024, she released the mini eye sculpt, which is this guy right here. And yes, I do keep the boxes for, reference. So that came out in December of 2024. She has trademarked the Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone palette, and that was filed in March of 2025. So I would not be surprised if that was kind of end of 2025, maybe not an all matte palette. Hopefully we'll get some shimmers or something in there, some sparkly shades. So I would not be surprised to see that. That may be more of a permanent release. And then looking ahead to next spring, so February of 2026. So as I said, the Bloom palette came out in February of 2025. I would not be surprised if we see a I Need a Cool palette for next spring. So again, we have the I Need a Nude, which has been very popular. It'll be interesting to see how I Need a Cool is different from I Need a Nude, because I Need a Nude is already skewing a little bit more cool toned. And of course we had the I Need a Warm. So yeah, I Need a Cool is kind of a logical extension of that. And I think between I Need a Rose and I Need a Cool, I Need a Rose sounds like more of a limited edition color story to me. And I Need a Cool, that was only trademarked in mid-June of 2025. So just the lead time there is a little bit shorter. So that makes me think it might be pushed to next spring. And looking at Bloom again, that trademark application was filed in July of 2024. And then talking about Bloom again, I think we might get a mini Bloom sometime next year, because they also filed a trademark for mini Bloom in June of 2025. So maybe around this time next year, we'll get the mini Bloom. So those were kind of the highlights in terms of palette releases, which is what usually captures my attention the most with Natasha Denona. Just quickly going through some other things I saw. So there's the High Gloss, a lip gloss formula that she filed in June of 2025. Also a Luxe Glam Compact. So I'm not really sure what that will entail. Yeah, the name of it just says eyeshadow palettes. So I'm not quite sure what that would be. There's a High Glam Loose Powder that she trademarked in March of 2025. The Eye Sculpt Texture and Tone, I think I mentioned. Also the Eye Sculpt Sticks or Shadow Sticks. So maybe some shadow sticks will be coming from Natasha Denona. There's a Core Quad palette that she trademarked. Again, that one just says eyeshadow, so I'm not quite sure. Also some eyeshadow duos potentially. So like I said, we are kind of trending more towards smaller eyeshadow or different eyeshadow formulas. Mini Gloom, Bloom, I think everything else. The liquid bronzer that we just got, that was filed in August of 2024. So almost a full year later. And then going on up, I think we've seen most of what's come out. So I think things that we've kind of skipped over, like they may come to pass or they may just be kind of abandoned. So anyway, I hope you guys found that little reading of the tea leaves kind of interesting. Let me know what you are looking forward to or what your best guess is for what we might see later this year and into 2026. And if you do like talking about Natasha Denona, make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.